What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our tutorial world here on the console edition, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a 8-station selector, minecart selector. So then basically let me get a minecart on our hotbar, and then we've got our stations here. So you've got station 1 all the way around to station 8 using the item frame with an item in. And then if we get a minecart, put it on here. Let's say we want to go to station 3. You can push it off and then it'll go all the way over to station 3, which is just over here. Yeah, it's very simple and very easy to do. So I'm just going to jump straight into it and show you how to build it. Now the first thing you want to do is clear out or dig out or lay out a 13 by 22 area. So as you can see, it's all marked out here, and we're actually going to have to get rid of these because they're going to be in the way. And there we go. Now this area can be as far or as close to the actual rails as you want. This is going to be just a circuitry for it. Now the input of it, obviously, as you can see, you can extend it infinitely using comparators and just 1 bit of redstone dust in between the comparators each. And 1 bit of redstone dust maximum, and that is purely so that it carries the same signal strength all the way through. This works on the signal strength given out by the item frame being read by the comparator. So when you actually turn up the actual item frame, the output will actually get stronger, meaning that it will send the signal further along and then activating that correct rail. Now these redstone lines coming out to the switches where the actual diversions on the tracks go is you can extend them as far as wide as you want to reach your needs as to where you're having your rails exactly. Now before building this, the main key thing you need to know is if we get a map on our hotbar. Oh, that's not our map. Now the rails themselves have to be going in the positive direction. So as you can see from our Z, it's going from negative into the plus. And then where it turns off, it also has to be going in a positive direction. So as you can see from the X, we're going up from 257 up to 260s. So then the main things that you have to take into account when building this, the rails will have to be heading in a positive direction and then another positive direction spreading off from each junction. Now the whole reason for that is because the rails will automatically try to connect to the positives, and that's the only way that this system will actually work. Now I can actually show you what I mean by that. If we do this and then we go, not there, go 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4. Now when I put a rail down here, it will connect to the 2 positive sides, which will be this one up here and this one over here, like so. Now this is the whole point, that it has to be in the positive direction before you start building it. So make sure that you got the orientation of it up, down, right before you start building it. Otherwise you'll end up having to rebuild it all again. Now to start yourself off, we're just going to be starting off with the basic input signal, which is going to be the first comparator there. So let's say this is our line in, comparator there. I'm going to have to quickly take reference while I'm building it. Now we want, I believe it's 1 and then 2 in between each one. So you want our first bit of redstone dust here, and then another comparator, and then 2, comparator, 2, comparator, 2, comparator, 2, comparator, another 2, another comparator, another 2, and another comparator. And then that should be the end of your line, as you can see just here. Now just before each of these comparators here, you're going to want to have a repeater coming off just of here. So lay them all out like so. And then I believe this last one goes just along there. So then we'll have our 2 bits of redstone dust there. And then that's the first line that you need to do. Now, going on, this is pretty much a daisy chain. The way this works is that the section following the section beforehand will be turning the first one off. So what happens is that when the first signal strength comes in, let me just put that round to number 1. This will only output a signal strength of 1, so it comes into this first one, it won't register on this second comparator here, and it will send the signal to the first line. So we'll run that one first of all. So then we want, have I already? No, I forgot a repeater, that's all. That is my mistake. Make sure you don't do that. We need that there. So then we want, I do believe it's 1 for 2. Yep, if you're wondering how comes I'm taking reference to this, it's because if you watch my Let's Play series, I done a 5-station selector, and I thought for a tutorial I'd bump it up to a 8-station selector, just so that you got the full range of it completely. Now this line here, this comparator is purely so that you could switch this line off. So then that one could then come in like so. And then I believe we've got a repeater at the end of each line. Yep, that's just so that you can boost the signal to wherever it is that you want it to go. And then on this next line, what you want to do is actually have redstone, 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 and then a repeater going into that comparator. And then after that, you want another comparator there. And then pretty much you just want to follow the exact same routine, and then repeater, and then a comparator, and then redstone all the way up to that comparator. So you want a repeater into that one, comparator into that, and then again with this one. So like so, and then a comparator at the end of that line, and then like so, with a comparator at the end of that one, and then, oh, a little bit too quick there, with a repeater and a comparator. And then again with the redstone, and then we want that, and then we want a repeater there, and then you just want to repeater at the end of each of these lines, so just make sure that they're lining up, so it's 2 in between each one, and then we just run a redstone dust. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da da, and da da, and then da da. Now, this one is actually not necessary because our final turn off, obviously you're not going to have to activate and deactivate it, so you won't have a redstone line running from this final one. But the final one is necessary because the final one will be turning off the one beforehand. Because what will happen is that if we didn't have these deactivators going from each section, that all of these rails would be active, which means all of these turn-offs would be on at the same time. So if I was to, so let's say, turn this up to station 5, it will switch all the way up to station 5, but if we didn't have any of these things, like any of these repeaters locking out the comparators, what would happen is that you'd have this, is that every single one of the tracks will be turned off, which is how comes we need each section turning off the section beforehand, which is done by the circuit that I've just showed you how to build. Okay, so that is pretty much all there is to it. The rest of it is pretty much self-explanatory. The redstone circuit behind it is very simple to build after you dug it out and you laid it all out. But I will go through and show you the process of how to actually finish it off. So let's say our input should be, say, about here. And then we want our line coming from here to here. And then you want our comparator, which is going to be too high. There we go. We don't want to be switching them on or off. And then like so. One bit of redstone dust there. And then we're also going to need, not you, we're going to need you. And you can use any item you want. I use a redstone torch because it's a very clear indicator. So then that goes like so. And then that will be our first one on. So that will be station 1, and then when you turn it, we'll take that one, station 2, and then station 3. which would be that one, and then so on and so forth. So that is your input. Very simple to set up and very easy to do. And now I'll quickly show you how to do the tracks. So if I can remember correctly, let's just run a straight line coming down here. And then this is going to be our final one coming off here. And then it's every two, so like that, like so. Oh, not you, like so. Like so. Like so. And finally, like so. Now this is going to be our output line where we're heading off in the minecart. Now you can obviously run this as far away as you want from your actual redstone circuitry. Words are getting muddled up now because I've been recording straight. Usually I have breaks in between my recording if you watch my Let's Plays. And yeah, so that's how comes that's happening. Okay, so we want to do a few of these. Just need to make sure I get the powered rails in the right locations. So then we want, say like so, like so, like so, like so. Now the gaps I'm leaving is for the powered rails, because obviously you're not going to want to lose momentum as you're going through. Oh, not that. Like so. Okay. And then let's get our powered rails in. Now, as you can see, they're all turned on at the moment. That will all change shortly. Let me just power all of these guys. And then what you want to do is just make sure that these are all reverted back to their normal state. Because I laid them in a certain particular way, they're all facing being on at the moment. So we'll just reset them all, which is very easy to do. Like that. Okay, so that is our line going down. And then all you need to do is run each one of these redstone signals into the corresponding junction as to where you want your stations. So let's say we want, let's get some red blocks for this. Just to indicate where our lines are. Now there's no reason why you can't have this hidden underneath the ground and actually control the junctions using redstone torch towers. It's very, very simple. We do not need anything there. It's very simple to actually do if you know your basic redstone mechanics. And then let's run that to there. Run that to there. Let's run a few bits of redstone dust. If you're wondering why I'm leaving the gap, it's because I want to run repeaters into the blocks. And then you can just run the redstone dust, but I think it's a much easier and clearer indicator as to what's going on in a tutorial version so that you can see the lights going on and off. So if we turn this one now, that first one will turn and then that will send us to station 2. And then the same thing will happen all throughout the rest of the stations. So station 4 will go there. And now if we get in our minecart and we ride it, and that will be station 4. I forgot the powered rail just over here. Oh no, this is the one that I forgot to power, wasn't it? That is my mistake. I usually have a powered rail here as well. Okay, so that is our outgoing line. That is all done and dusted now. That's our input device where we select the station that we want. That is pretty much all the hard work done. Now it is just the sort of finagling round of getting the return line. Now, if you want to see this, this is our return line coming in. Now, the way that I've done it here, it could be done in multiple different ways. I've tried my best to get our return line to run down the same line as our outgoing line, but it just created a lot more problems than it was worth, and which is how comes what I've done in my in my Let's Play world, and on this one is that I've just sort of zigged it out. So let's say our return line can be coming, say, up from about here. So if we go down by, let's say, 3. Just run this all the way down. Still got to go a little bit further. And I've taken one block out too many. Okay. Got to try to remember how I've run our return line before I actually do it on camera. So each one comes in and comes down, which means we're probably going to want to come down, say, like so. And that should be about right. So we want to bring that down, bring that down. Actually, we're probably going to want to take this back one further on each one, if I remember correctly, because it won't turn on a downwards angle, which is where we want our cable to run down there. That is fine, fine, fine. Okay, now that we've dug out our little trench here, as you can see, each one's coming down by 3, and you've got the one little gap there. So if we want our return line, say, to come down from here, say, you know what would actually be easier? Because it's a return line, it doesn't really matter if we do every other one being a redstone block. Just so I don't have to worry about powering our power cables. And then that can come up to there. And then our lines coming out, we are going to want to probably be... We actually may have to take this out one further. No, actually we don't. It should be fine. So let's raise this up by 1. And that should be fine. Now the return line itself is, it doesn't really matter which orientation it comes or goes from. It's just more of a case because you can actually just change the lines on the return lines themselves. Like you can permanently change them rather than have it alternating like we have to on the output line. So say we have to run this guy down to here and then do that. Just run this line going along. Don't need one there. And just run this line going up. And that is that. Now, what I mean that you don't need to worry is that basically you can just do that and revert them over. So we'll just reset all of these. So when a minecart is coming outwards, what it will do is it will run straight over and carry it on your output line. But when it comes back, it will actually come down onto your input line, which will be down here. And then we just want to run some powered cables. Now, if you're worried about all of these tracks facing the wrong way, don't worry about that just yet. So this is going to be our return line. So let's just break a couple of blocks either side of these. Oh, getting a little bit finicky. And then what we want to do, we actually are going to want to get in there. This is what I mean that you can just turn it permanently. Is that you can just put a switch on it and just keep it powered. So that it will be facing the right way. Like so. Oh, I dug out the wrong one there, didn't I? And then our final line coming in, obviously doesn't need to be that far. And then you can just fill it all in. Now, like I said, these lines don't have to be nearly as compact as I'm making them. So this is going to be our station 1, station 2, station 3, station 4, station 5, station 6, station 7, and station 8. And then obviously you want a couple of power rails coming in or out from these points. Just to keep the momentum again. And that is it, all done and dusted. That's our line going out from this point here. Now in my Let's Play world, I've got this selection panel next to automatic minecart dispenser that actually dispenses the minecart from underneath the track. And then on the input line, I've got it running into a cactus, then through a hopper, back into the dispenser, ready to be shot off again. But the main thing that you probably wanted to learn from this tutorial is this initial redstone circuit here to change the actual item frame into an output selector. So then pretty much all you can use this mechanism for a number of different type of builds. For ones that you want to select 1 out of 8 different outputs. So say you wanted, say 1 out of 8 different types of armor stands to pop up, that each one of these are going to be a single output controlled by the redstone output from this. But I've used it in this case for a minecart station selector. Now I know that minecarts are probably a little bit obsolete in the overworld with the elytra in the world now. In Minecraft now, especially on console edition, no one seems to use minecarts anymore. But I'm still a great lover of the minecarts and I love using them and I love the mechanics of them. And yeah, so this is a tutorial just pretty much on how to make an 8-station minecart selector using the item frame with the comparator mechanic. And hopefully you've learned how it all works. Hopefully I've explained redstone pretty well, so if you do run into any issues or you want to compact it anymore, you know the basic principles of how this works. Now, I will quickly give you another run through if you didn't watch my Let's Play. The item frame initially, when you first put an item in or an item frame alone, I'm not sure if it needs to have an item in to have an output. Yes, it definitely does. Well, that's something that I've learnt today. So when there's an item in it, it will output a redstone signal strength of 1. So what happens with the comparator, it will output exactly where it receives from the back unless an input from the side is greater than the input from the back. So the input coming in from behind is going to be 1, it outputs a signal strength of 1, and that carries on with a signal strength of 1. So this one will be signal strength of 1, it will pass on to this comparator, which will light up this one bit of redstone but not this one. So then this first one will be activating the first set of rails. Now when I turn that up 1 notch, like I say, it will output a signal strength of 2. Now with the 2, because this is now sending out a signal strength of 2, this comparator is reading the signal strength of 2. This one will then pass it on to here. Now when it passes it on to here, this signal strength on this block here will now only be 1, because it will be 2 here, then 1 there. This one's only receiving a signal strength of 1, and it's only outputting 1, which is there. but then with the output of 2 from this one, this line is then lit up. And with this line lit up, it will send a repeated signal into the side of this comparator. Now, because there's a repeater here, the signal strength coming into the back of this one, this block here is going to be signal strength 15. This one's going to be 14, so it's going to be 14 into the back, 15 into the side, preventing this comparator from outputting a signal at all, which inadvertently switches off the first one. And then it's daisy chained along to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. So let's say if we switch it all the way up to, I think that's 6, I believe. That's 6, 7, yeah, that's 6. So what happens is that with it outputting signal strength, each one is dropping by 1 going along. And then when it gets all the way up to here, this one's now only receiving the signal strength of 1, it's only outputting 1, so it doesn't reach this repeater. But it does reach this one, with this one outputting a signal strength of 2. And then this will then send the signal up to this repeater, inadvertently locking out this one, and then one beforehand will be locking out the signal before that one. But yeah, it is extremely simple after you learn how the comparators work. And after I've just showed you, you should have no problem building this in your world. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing with me running the tracks. I did have to refer back onto the build over here, which I done initially. And that is purely because I had only just built the 5-station selector in my Let's Play. And I've only just hopped into my redstone world and built the 8-station selector. So it was still a little bit fresh in my memory. I've only built it once, especially with the return line can get a little bit finicky. Finicky, is that a word? I don't think it is, but it is now a little bit finicky. And yeah, so running the return line is, as you could see, I did have a little bit of trouble working out the dimensions and which way it was running. But with the return line itself, you can permanently change the angles and which way they run. So it shouldn't be an issue if you actually run in a return line. And how you send and receive the minecarts and where you receive or send them from is entirely up to you. These redstone lines on the item frame selector can be extended indefinitely to wherever it is that you want to run them to. But yeah, hopefully that's been helpful to you, and hopefully you have found this tutorial very helpful, because the only reason why you'd be watching it is if you actually wanted to make one of these. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did and it's your first time to this channel, please consider subscribing for future Minecraft tutorials and Minecraft content alike. And I'll hopefully see you all in the next one. Bye bye.